Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to the top 8 of the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. This is actually my hometown, so I'm excited to bring you guys this tournament featuring some great players such as Andrew Reynolds on the left, a player from Wisconsin who always does very well at these tournaments, and a guy who's no slouch himself, Jason Klaczynski, our only two-time world champion in the Pokémon TCG. And we should have a good matchup here. Now, both these guys were having a pretty good day, I suppose. They're both in the top 8. And Jason, as you can see, is playing a Blastoise Keldeo EX deck, which is purely built on cards from the Boundaries Crossed set. Pretty much all the Pokemon are from that set. Clearly the deck works together. And I apologize as I clear my throat. You can see I'm still a little sick, so I will be coughing and clearing my throat periodically throughout this. I wish I could help it, but I can't. Someday I won't be sick, but we'll see. So yeah, you get the Blastoise into play, which has the Deluge ability, which allows you to attach as many water energy from your hand as you want every turn, which powers up Keldeo EX's Secret Sword, which does 50 plus 20 for each water energy on Keldeo EX. So, it all works out pretty well. Makes for one fancy little deck, and we'll see if it functions here in this game. Now Andrew is going to be using pretty much a big basic kind of a deck. It's got Landorus EX, Tornadus EX, Mewtwo EX, and then Bouffalant as well, which is a nice little card as well in this deck. Now the Landorus will not help him very much in this matchup. In fact, it will actually hurt him to put it into play because it's weak to water, which means all it takes is Keldeo EX using a Secret Sword with 3 energy that's going to knock out a Landorus EX in one hit, and then take 2 prizes. So here we saw Jason playing Ultra Ball for a Blastoise, and then he used Tropical Beach. So for those of you saying, hey, why is he drawing all those cards? Tropical Beach is a stadium card that instead of attacking for your turn, you could just opt to use Tropical Beach instead, and then you fill your hand until you have 7 cards. You just draw from the top of your deck, and then your turn ends. So in a deck like a Blastoise Keldeo, it's basically saying, you know what? I really can't attack on the first turn. There's really nothing I'm ever going to do on the first turn. So why not just use that turn for Tropical Beach, build up my hand for the second turn, where maybe I can get a rare candy and a Blastoise, and then power up a Keldeo EX, and, you know, be happy as I power everything up. Now, we do see Andrew. He correctly assesses this matchup. He says, you know what? I really can't win if I'm going to try to trade blows with this kind of a deck. What I got to do is just use Mewtwo. Mewtwo is really the star in this matchup because, sure, you can drop as many energy as you would like. With the Blastoise Keldeo deck, you can just rain down energy. You know, a lot of people still call it Rain Dance because the first Blastoise from base set was, it had the Pokemon Power Rain Dance, which allowed you to pretty much do the same thing as the current Blastoise's Deluge. It might seem like, whoa, he can just drop as many energy as he wants. Of course he's got the advantage. Well, that's kind of where Mewtwo EX balances things out. He says, well, actually, the more energy you put down, the more damage I do. So Mewtwo keeps Keldeo in check, because even if you get that monster Keldeo EX out with 7 energy on it and you're knocking everything out in one hit, well, then all it takes is a Mewtwo with a double colorless to X-Ball you, since X-Ball does 20 times the number of energy attached to both Pokemon. And say Keldeo has 7, Mewtwo has 2, that means X-Ball does 9 times 20, which is 180 damage, which happens to knock out Keldeo EX in one hit. So, even though the Blastoise deck has the energy acceleration advantage, that doesn't always matter. Blastoise, as good as it is, Mewtwo is always just as good. So now Andrew, he kind of caught a break there. Jason missed his turn 2 Blastoise. Played a Juniper, had to discard a lot of resources. He was just hoping to get that turn 2 Secret Sword, and he missed. You need a rare candy and a Blastoise to evolve into Blastoise turn 2. Sometimes it's easier said than done. And this situation, excuse me, was one of those examples. I mean, Jason just did not get the rare candy for his Blastoise, and his turn kind of flopped. And now Andrew has the opportunity to really take advantage of this situation. And all he needs is a double colorless, honestly, and he can just X-Ball here for 80, and then it's going to be difficult for Jason to really respond to that. We do see a Skyla for Ultra Ball, which is an interesting choice. He must just want to get another Pokemon into play here. Looks like he's grabbing Tornadus EX. But yeah, he definitely needs a double colorless energy to really do something here. If he can do that, he can X-Ball for 80, and then next turn he can just X-Ball again. He'll probably knock out that Keldeo EX, and he'll be well on his way to victory. But it looks like all he has is a fighting. So it's a strange decision that he would Skyla for the Ultra Ball. I guess he could have been going for Computer Search and it was just prized, because you could Skyla for the Computer Search, get the double colorless, and start attacking. But it was not there. I'm going to assume that's what that was, because he had an N that he could have used to try to draw the double colorless too, and he decided not to do it. But now we're going to see Jason Ultra Ball. He played the Skyla for Ultra Ball, and he's going to get his Blastoise. So here we go. We're going to get that turn 3 Blastoise. Not as good as a turn 2 Blastoise, but it's alright. And we're going to see Deluge onto this Keldeo EX. And we're going to see a Secret Sword for 110 damage, I believe. Jason did already play his supporter, so he's not going to be getting any more cards this turn. He will not use Tropical Beach. That would be kind of silly. And there we go. There's a Secret Sword for 110 damage, which is going to really give him the advantage here. Unless Andrew has another Max Potion, which looks like he does have one in his hand, so... Huh. Never mind. So there's the Max Potion. That just kind of negates Jason's whole attack there, which is pretty annoying if you're Jason, honestly. To have to attack it again now. A Max Potion is a card that can really, again, balance out the energy acceleration that Blastoise provides. It said, alright, sure you got to power up a Keldeo, and now your attack is gone, and my Mewtwo just does 100. Deal with it. So now I guess Jason's job is to deal with it. Now he does put a 4th energy on his Keldeo EX, so he's going for 2 more energy. If he can do that, he can attach them. And then a Secret Sword for 170 damage, which would be a knockout. And regain that advantage he had. At the cost of 6 energy. Which is a hefty cost. But at the same time, you know, he does run a lot of energy. And he runs a lot of energy retrievals. So he can deal with losing these 6 energy. Now there's an Ultra Ball. Discards some fairly worthless things. Jason's trying to make the decision. Do I go for a Mewtwo? Or do I go for a Keldeo? And I think in this situation I would consider Mewtwo, because the most likely thing that's going to knock you out next turn is actually a Mewtwo. In which case you would just want your own to follow up with an X-Ball and get a knockout. But Jason decides... excuse me. Jason decides... I'm just going to go for another Keldeo. That's a safer thing. In case, you know, Andrew has like a double colorless and a plus power, knocks me out with that. I don't really want to have Mewtwo on my board as a liability, so I'll just do this instead. Now Andrew, he promotes this Mewtwo EX, plays 2 switches just to get rid of them, I suppose, and puts down another Bouffalant, and he's going to end. So he's going to put Jason at 4 cards, and he's going to draw 6. Once again, he needs that double colorless energy. If he can get one, he's going to be able to X-Ball for the knockout here, putting Jason on the back foot. It's going to require him to have a couple more energy in order to use Secret Sword next turn. And really just make things tougher for Jason. But, oh, looks like Andrew does not draw that double colorless energy, and that's going to make things so difficult for him in these following turns here. I mean, basically he's going to go down 4 prizes here, which is not what you want to do against a Blastoise Keldeo deck. It's just not fun. You never want to be down 4 prizes, but you especially don't want to be down 4 prizes against a deck like this, which has so much firepower and potential to close out the game. It just really doesn't have a limit for how much damage it can do, as long as you keep getting enough energy in play. You can just take your last 2 prizes. It's probably not going to be that difficult. And we do see an energy retrieval from Jason. He's going to be able to get 2 water energy back from the discard pile. I guess he'll use that to power up another Keldeo EX. Just in case he gets end, he wants to play these cards out as soon as possible. No need to hold on to them. Just drop them all while you can. Otherwise you could end up losing them. He's going to play an Ultra Ball as well. This is all about thinning your deck out at this point. This is something you see a lot of great players do, and you can see, geez, he's got like 6 water energy left in his deck, so he should be able to close this game out. Once you get rolling, I mean, if you don't deal with that Keldeo EX, it's just like a Mewtwo with a lot of energy. If you do not deal with that in one turn, he's just going to keep knocking out stuff. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's exactly what's happening here. Jason is just kind of steamrolling through. Andrew missed a couple turns of double colorless, and now he is just in a lot of trouble. I think he's pretty much done for this game. Jason just kind of counting how many cards he has left. In some situations, I guess he could be forced to use Tropical Beach, and then he just wants to make sure he won't deck out. Actually, he's got a Juniper in his hand as well. Decides not to bench his Mewtwo. I guess he's just kind of doing some math there on, if my opponent ends me, what do I want left in my deck? Am I at danger if I leave anything in there? I think I would like to just see him bench the Mewtwo there. I think that probably would have been a little better. But at the end of the day, this is not going to matter at all. We'll see what Andrew has. I mean, he's got the Aspertia City Gym, so that will help him survive. He finally has a double colorless, so he can finally get one into play here. So he'll at least be able to take a couple prizes this game. He'll be able to Power Blast. I may have preferred if he powered up Bouffalant instead of the Tornadus EX. Make it more difficult for Jason to take his last 2 prizes as opposed to just 1. But what's done is done. We can't change that anymore. We're going to see Andrew Skyla here. I'm not sure what he grabs. We did see Jason had a Juniper in his hand, so it actually doesn't matter anymore. He's just going to end up losing. He does grab the Computer Search, so I guess that is in his deck, which is puzzling that his first turn he decided not to use that. He decided to go for an Ultra Ball instead of the Computer Search in that first turn. He hasn't taken any prizes, so it wasn't prized. So this game has been a little confusing from Andrew's point of view. I guess he was just too afraid to commit to the Mewtwo War too early. He wants to wait until Jason has energy on his Pokemon before he starts X-Balling. So maybe that's what he was thinking about. But now it's just too little too late, I believe. He's going to go for the Power Blast, and he's going to get heads so he keeps his energy. But now all Jason has to do, honestly, is get, let's see, he needs 3 more energy. It'll be a knockout. And we saw his deck earlier that he just has a ton of energy left in his deck. So he's going to Juniper, he's going to draw the rest of his deck. And yeah, he's got 3 more water. All he has to do is rush in with Keldeo EX. He's going to count out the water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so math will tell you that 50 plus 140 equals 190, which is just enough to knock out that Tornadus EX because of that Aspertia City Gym. So Jason will take this first game. Kind of a rough start there for Andrew, but it's just one game. It's a best 2 out of 3 series. So we'll be back for game number 2 here. We'll see if Andrew can turn this around. So we're going to wait for these guys to shuffle up, and then we'll get right into game number 2. So as we head into game 2, Andrew will decide who goes first. The loser of the first game gets to decide who goes first in the second game. This is the best 2 out of 3 series here in the top 8. And I'm sure he will choose to go first. One of these days I'm going to have to stop using my joke. That, I hope he chooses to go first. Probably gets old after 100 videos of me saying that. But anyway, Andrew will choose to go first because there's no downside to going first in this format. There are no restrictions, just a complete advantage to go first. Excuse me. So he does mulligan. Jason does have a basic, so Andrew will shuffle in and draw 7 new cards. Jason will get to draw an extra card after placing his prizes out. And then we'll get underway here for the second game. Now, if you're Andrew, the first game was probably a little disheartening, but at the same time, he really didn't draw any double colorless when he needed them. So it could have been a lot better for him if he had just drawn 1 or 2 different cards. And Jason, he just had that one turn where he loaded up a Keldeo EX, knocked out a Mewtwo in 1 hit. And that's all there was to it. So now we'll see Andrew, starting with his worst starter, Landorus EX. That's not what he wanted to see here. And he's just going to hammerhead for 30. He had an N in his hand, and he decided, you know what, I really don't care about playing this right now. I'm going to save it. I'm going to see if you have a good or a bad hand. And I like that play. A lot of people would just kind of play the N and say, alright, I got a supporter, let's play it. But you don't always need to do that. If you want to save your supporter, I would always suggest, if you really don't need to play it, then don't play it. And here I don't think there was a point to playing the N, besides maybe shuffling in Jason's hand, since he did mulligan. And there was a chance that he could have, had a pretty good hand off of, the 7 cards plus the Keldeo EX. So, I don't know. I don't mind not playing the N, though. Certainly not a bad move. And Andrew, he left himself with some options for next turn. He does have a computer search in his hand, so he'll be able to pretty much just choose what he wants to do next turn. Now, Jason, he's going to Ultra Ball. Looks like he's thinking about what to discard here. Now, he probably wants to get another Squirtle into play this turn. Otherwise, Andrew could just kind of knock him out with a Tornadus EX. If there's a Stadium in play, he could use Blow Through, catch up that Squirtle, and that would not be good for Jason. So we'll see. And looks like he's going to Ultra Ball for a Blastoise here. This is a pretty risky move, I would say, from Jason. Opting to go for the Blastoise instead of the Squirtle. Now, of course, this is a high-risk, high-reward kind of a play. And I suppose the risk isn't extremely high for doing something like this. Andrew would need, a Stadium, Tornadus EX, double colorless, switch, catcher, and he didn't even play a supporter last turn. So I guess if you're Jason, you're just kind of thinking, my Squirtle's pretty safe. There's no way I'm going to get knocked out. But, he's giving Andrew one of the pieces of the puzzle. He doesn't need a Stadium anymore. Puts it out there. Tornadus EX's Blow Through does do extra damage if there's any Stadium in play. So, we'll see. Now, looks like Andrew did have a Stadium anyway, and he does have a catcher. He does have a computer search. So he's really just kind of 1 card short of pulling this off, which would be that switch. So we're going to see him discard an N, and then a double colorless. He's really going to play his hand down to 0 this turn, and then just kind of cross his fingers, hope to draw a switch. Off of his 6-card N, he did draw another N, so he has 2 of those. And right here, Jason might be thinking, uh-oh. Maybe I took a risk I shouldn't have. Maybe this is going to bite me. But this is really a huge turn. I mean, if Andrew can knock out that Squirtle, and he does have the catcher, if he can knock out the Squirtle, he's going to set Jason back a long ways. Because not only does Jason not have another Squirtle into play, which is going to delay his Blastoise by, who knows? He could just go without getting a Blastoise in play this turn. But also he missed an energy drop, so he is nowhere near being able to attack anytime soon. So that is a bummer as well. He just He doesn't have any energy in play. It takes 3 to attack with Keldeo EX. And there we go. There is the switch from Andrew. And just like that, Squirtle is gone. Jason has no way to get a Blastoise in play. And his Tropical Beach got countered by that Asparagus City Gym. So all in all, that was a pretty perfect turn for Andrew. And all of a sudden, starting with that Landorus EX wasn't so bad. It might have baited Jason into making a greedy play there, going for the Blastoise instead of the Squirtle. Well, I don't know if he regrets not grabbing a second Squirtle, but in this situation, I'm sure he wishes he had another one in play here. And he also used his level ball, so he's going to have to play quite a few cards just to get another Squirtle out. He's going to have to use Ultra Balls, which are going to be costly. He's already used one Ultra Ball. He's using another one here. He's going to only have 2 left. So his ways of even finding Pokemon are starting to become limited. And just like that, you can see how one turn can swing the game completely. If Andrew does not knock out that Squirtle, we could see just a rare candy into a Blastoise, 3 energy, and a Secret Sword this turn. But just like that, nope, we're not going to see any aggression out of Jason anytime soon, and he's going to be on the back foot. It's going to be pretty much Andrew dictating the rest of this game here, as we do see a Skyla from Jason. We'll probably see him grab, a Tropical Beach. I don't know what else is in his hand he's going to put down the beach. I guess he's going to put down a Squirtle. He get Ultra Ball for another Squirtle, and then Tropical Beach for 7. And that would probably be his best bet here. He would have to discard quite a few cards to do that, but it's probably worth it, because putting down one Squirtle at a time is not his best option at this point. It could just be another catcher, another Squirtle knockout, another catcher, another Squirtle. You can't bench him one at a time. That's the problem. If you do, Pokemon Catcher is too strong, you can just bring out that Squirtle, and that's all there is to it. So, we'll see what Jason decides to do. He's contemplating. He's got a Bianca and an Energy Retrieval in his hand. I'm not sure what the holdup is here. I guess he's worried about discarding too many resources early on. But if I were him, I would probably just go for it. You're already down a prize, you're down a Squirtle, you don't have an energy in play. There's just so much going against you. And you're going to be drawing 7 with that Tropical Beach, so you might as well go for it. But no, Jason decides to take a more conservative approach this time around. And does not bench the Squirtle, just draws 4 cards. He's going to wait until he doesn't have to quite discard as many resources. He does have an Energy Retrieval that he doesn't want to discard. I believe he's discarded 1 already. So he's worried that if he goes for it there, he might not have enough energy to kind of win the game. He could run out of energy at some point, I suppose. So that is a valid concern. But in this situation, I think he might have been better off just going for the Squirtles and hoping for the best. Now Andrew just uses Blow Through for 60. It doesn't look like he had an energy or a supporter. So maybe Jason can catch a lucky break there. And he's going to catch her up with this Landorus EX. Maybe try to stall for a bit of time here. And now it's got to be the turn where, he puts down the 2 Squirtles, and goes from there. That's really all there is to it. Now we're going to see him Ultra Ball. It'll be interesting to see what he discards. Now he's discarding 2 Water Energy, which, kind of makes last turn's play seem a little strange when you think about it. So he opted not to discard an Energy Retrieval, but at the same time he was willing to discard 2 Water Energy, which is pretty much the same thing. So I guess it's just kind of strange to me that he would opt to do that this turn instead of using the Tropical Beach for 7 last turn, getting 2 Squirtles into play. Perhaps he could have gotten a Rare Candy and a Blastoise out and started to attack here. So I'm not sure. I don't want to be critical of either player's play here, but just an observation. Maybe he just overlooked that sort of a thing, or maybe I'm just looking at it incorrectly. It's tough to tell. We do have a computer search from Jason. He's discarding 2 more Water Energy, so excuse me. He's just kind of discarding a lot of resources at this point. It's starting to get ugly. I think he realizes he needs another Squirtle out here. Oh, maybe there's two Squirtle's prize? Is that a thing here? One has been knocked out. There's one in play. Does he have another Squirtle in his deck? If he doesn't, that could be a reason why we've been seeing him make these kind of strange plays here. I don't know, it's hard to tell. And yeah, it looks he grabs a Blastoise, so it looks like he's got those two Squirtle's prize, and he was just kind of waiting for a turn to make it more difficult for Andrew to take a knockout on his other Squirtle. Because he catches up the Landorus EX, and that forces Andrew to have both a switch and a catcher, which he will have with the Skyla. He's just going to grab a switch. He does have the catcher in his hand already, and the Squirtle's going to go down, and we're going to see a game where Jason's going to have to figure out a way to win without Blastoise, which is kind of scary. That is really your only way to keep up with these decks. I mean, you put pretty much all your eggs into the Blastoise basket. You don't run... Well, most people don't run like double colorless in this deck because there's no point. You would always just want water energy to power up Keldeo EX's Secret Sword. And at this point, I gotta think that Jason is in a terrible position. I don't see a way for him to win at this point. You never know. That Landorus EX is going to be a liability at some point. It's two prizes just kind of sitting there. So that could come up. But, I mean, it's still going to be pretty rough for Jason to win this one, I think. But we'll see. If anyone can do it, it's him. Now, Andrew, he's got to be feeling good. The only thing that's bad about his situation is that he's going to be taking a lot of prizes very quickly. Now, that might seem kind of a silly thing to be worried about, but when N is in the format, you could end up just kind of fizzling out. You have too many cards left in your deck. A part of strategy in this format is to try to discard cards that will not be useful later on in the game. You want to get rid of your extra Ultra Balls, maybe cards like Eviolite, stuff like that. Stadiums, just stuff that's not going to help you when you draw it off an N in a late game situation. You need cards like Supporters, you need the cards like Pokemon Catcher, maybe like Plus Power. That might be a dead card sometimes too, though. Energy a lot, but Andrew's not had a real chance to do that so far. He does draw an Ultra Ball, so he could discard some stuff here. He has an N as well. Also, N is another card you don't want in your hand. Once you get down to two prizes, it's just not going to be a useful card to have. Those extra Landorus EX, those are not cards he wants. So, he really needs to take this turn here to thin some cards out and take advantage of this opportunity while he can. But one thing that is interesting to note is that I don't believe Jason actually plays N in his deck. He was talking to me about it before the tournament, and he decided not to play any N's in his deck because he didn't feel like he needed it in Blastoise Keldeo. He felt like it was a bad card late in the game because you want to be drawing as many cards as possible, and he feels like, if he can just pull off his own strategy, which is just to get as many water in play as possible, then he's going to end up winning. Which is a valid point. I mean, if Blastoise Keldeo gets a perfect start, there's not too many decks that can pull off a win. Alright, now Andrew, he's catching up this Keldeo EX that has the 2 energy on it. I do like that. That's going to provide him with an opportunity to hit it first. And he realizes that, alright, Jason, you have no energy acceleration. So if I get a hit in on that first, and then you attack me, then I'm just going to knock you out. And he's played the plus power as well, so blow through is going to do 70, which means just a power blast for 100 will be a knockout. If Jason attaches a third energy, then an X-Ball for 2 energy will be a knockout as well. And, this is just perfect for Andrew. I mean, sure, Jason has just tied the game, but it's looking pretty grim from Jason's point of view. He's going to be knocked out this turn by Power Blast. Andrew will go on to 2 prizes, and Jason will have no remaining energy in play. It does not look good. I really don't see a way for Jason to win at this point, unless... Oh, he's got a Squirtle in hand. Okay, so he actually got a Squirtle off his prizes. We do know that Andrew has used 3 catchers to this point. At least 3. I'm not sure if he's used a 4th, or if there's one in his discard pile or something. But I was operating under the assumption that Jason would not have access to Blastoise the rest of the game, but he might. It depends on a lot of things here. Does Jason play healing cards? Does he play... how many attackers does he have? Does he have more Keldeos to kind of switch between? And... Now the things just open up, now that Blastoise is an option. This is an interesting situation. Of course, it's just going to end if Andrew has another catcher, because he can just catcher up that Keldeo EX, Power Blast it for the win, take his last 2 prizes, and that will be that. But if he never draws another catcher and Jason could just kind of rotate between attackers the rest of the game, we could see him make a big comeback here. All it takes, is a Keldeo EX to knock out this Tornadus EX, and then a Mewtwo to knock out Andrew's Mewtwo, and then if Andrew just doesn't have a catcher to knock out one of Jason's big EXs, that could be the game. Another option for Jason would be to actually attack with Blastoise, since it's not an EX. Maybe you could Secret Sword for 110 and then follow up with a Hydro Pump from Blastoise, which would allow you to knock out an EX, but then you wouldn't have to use an EX of your own. So Andrew would only be able to take 1 prize, and then maybe we just see a Mewtwo or a Keldeo EX come in for a big knockout at the end. So who knows? Pretty much anything can happen at this point. Once your Pokemon catchers are exhausted, they're a very valuable resource, but once they are exhausted, it limits you, and it makes your opponent feel safer about having things on their bench. Now, there still is 1 left for Andrew. I'm pretty sure on that. But he's going to have to draw it. And like I said earlier, he's got a lot of cards left in his deck. That's going to make it difficult for him to draw what he needs. He's played a couple Skylas, so those would be the cards that would search for it. He's also played his Computer Search. That'd be another card that can search for it. So he's really just going to have to blindly draw into that last catcher. And when you got about 20 or 30 cards left in your deck, that's not as easy as it sounds. So we're going to see Jason rush in with another Keldeo. Tropical Beach. Draws until he has 7. And here we go. We'll see what Andrew has in his hand here. I thought I might have seen a Skyla in there, but I'm not too sure. If he does, he's obviously going to want to use that right now. Maybe not. Nope. I'm seeing things. So now if you're Andrew, what do? It's a difficult decision. You really don't have any easy way to knock out one of Jason's Pokemon here. You're just going to have to settle for maybe a Power Blast for 100 or a Blow Through for 60. I do like that he's powering up a Mewtwo here. I feel like that's probably one of his best options. He could also just power up a Bouffalant in his hand. I would like that to just have a non-EX attacker to work with. Again, force Jason to have the catcher in order to do something. And here we see the Power Blast for 100. And now, Jason's got 2 heavily damaged Keldeo EXs, but like I've been saying, there's only 1 Pokemon catcher left for Andrew. He's going to have to draw it to win. Otherwise, he's just going to have to deal with this revolving door of Keldeo EXs attacking him, which is pretty annoying, honestly. He's already knocked out 1. We see that Jason actually plays 4 Keldeo EX, and he's got all of them into play this game. Excuse me. One of these days I won't be sick. But yeah, this is still difficult for Jason, honestly. He's gonna have to pull off some sort of magic. I'm not really sure what he can do. He's gonna have to Secret Sword here for at least 110 this turn. And like I said, he's gonna have to follow up next turn with a Hydro Pump from Blastoise. This really his only option. If he had a 4th Squirtle here, this would be helpful, but his 4th one is prized. He was fortunate enough to get the 3rd one out of his prizes. But There's really no other plan of attack for him besides attacking with Blastoise and Keldeo. Now it looks like he's loading up the Blastoise first, which is an interesting decision. I'm not sure why he's going for this route. I would think the better move is to attack with the Keldeo EX first, Secret Sword for 110, and then retreat to Blastoise afterwards for the finishing blow. That way you could use a Mewtwo to follow up for the win. But instead he's doing it backwards. It's kind of confusing. I'm not sure if this is the right way to go about it. He's opening himself up to being knocked out by a Mewtwo, and then it's really just not a favorable trade for him. He's going to lose his Blastoise, he's going to lose an energy acceleration, so I really feel like he's doing this out of order unless there's something I'm missing. I would definitely just Secret Sword first, follow up with the Hydro Pump, and then maybe keep a Mewtwo on your bench. Because you know at this point you lose to a catcher regardless. You know, okay, if he has a catcher, I just lose to, one of my Keldeo EXs being knocked out. So having the Keldeo with a bunch of damage on it actually doesn't really matter. Not sure if he was afraid of that or what. I guess he could hope that Andrew just doesn't have a double colorless energy. That's a possibility. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to tell. But we're going to see. Still, a lot of things can happen here. The one thing going for Jason is that Andrew just does not have anything in his hand. He just hasn't had much to work with these last few turns. There's no supporters, no nothing. Looks like he's going to retreat to his Mewtwo, though. He must have an energy switch or 2+ powers here, otherwise this would not be a very good play. And he's going to max potion his Tornadus EX. Something I didn't see coming. But it looks like he's just going to X-Ball for 120 unless he's got something else. I don't think he does, though. So this is just an X-Ball for 120. Not quite a knockout. So this is still going to open the door for Jason. He caught a break there that Andrew did not have the cards he needed to pull this off. And now, what is the course of action for Jason? It's tough to know what you should do from here. Number one is he's probably running out of energy. As you can see in his deck, he just does not have much stuff left. So he could just be running out of energy. He's going to Skyla for the Pokemon catcher, which will allow him to bring up one of those EXs on the bench. I'm not sure which one he actually goes for here, if he wants to do that. And, man, this is just tough. I guess he's really just going to be able to use one more Keldeo to try to win the game. And he's just going to Hydro Pump this Mewtwo for 100. That max potion from Andrew really did save the game for him, I feel. Unless he draws a catcher, then he just wins anyway. But, yeah, that max potion just saves that option from Jason to use that catcher to bring up a Tornadus EX and knock him out. Now the damage is gone completely. It's going to make things tougher. And I guess we'll see what happens from here. This is still a strange game. You can see just how powerful this Blastoise Keldeo deck is. Even though it didn't get a Blastoise out till, he was already down 4 prizes. You can just dump a bunch of energy down and come back from pretty much anything. So, he's actually got an N here. He's going to play down his hand as much as possible and end Jason into a new hand of 4 cards. He's going to draw 2. This is mainly for him rather than trying to disrupt Jason, because Andrew knows, alright, if I draw the right cards here, I definitely win this game. There's no way around it. So he does draw the double colorless and an energy switch in his hand. So he'll have that stuff to work with. Now, the thing he's got to worry about is that Pokemon catcher, and the fact that he's benched all these extra Pokemon kind of opens him up to being catchered in the following turns. What's going to happen is he can X-Ball for a knockout this turn, or he can actually just retreat, honestly, to Tornadus EX and blow through. I guess I didn't think of that one. So he actually will retreat to this Tornadus EX. And it looks like he's going to blow through for 60 for the knockout. This is actually going to make things much more difficult on Jason. So I do like this play from Andrew. And now we're just going to have to see, does Jason have a water energy first of all? That's going to be step number 1 for him. He does need a third water energy to attack. If he doesn't have that, he's just going to lose no matter what. Step number 2 is going to be, how do you use that Pokemon catcher? I think that's his last one. You know, if he had 2, he could go for some fancy play where like he catches up a Mewtwo, the one with no energy, and just kind of tries to hit it twice with Secret Sword, knock it out, and then use his last catcher to bring up the damaged Mewtwo and take that out of play and win the game that way. But if he only has 1, he's going to have to settle for just taking the knockout on the active in 2 hits, hoping that Andrew does not have enough energy to keep attacking him. But he's actually going to catch up the Mewtwo with the 100 damage on it this turn. I guess he needed to draw more cards for Bianca. And I know he gets a Mewtwo EX as well. I don't know, this could still go either way. This is a crazy game. I didn't really expect this to take this long after that abysmal start from Jason. But some games just get long and drawn out like this. And let's see what he gets from his prizes. Looks like a water energy for sure. Didn't see what the other one was. And, I mean, it's all going to come down to these next couple turns here. We got an energy switch onto the Tornadus EX. And this might just come down to a Power Blast flip. And he got heads. Oh, wow. If it's tails, he has to discard one of those energy. And I think he just might not have an energy to win. That's what Jason was hoping for there. But now, I think it's too tough for Jason to win here. There's no way he can avoid this Power Blast knockout. It's just not happening. He cannot stall for time. He didn't get a Squirtle off his prizes either. Even if he did, I don't think he has enough energy to really do anything anymore. He used his Pokemon catcher the previous turn. So, I gotta think that Andrew's got this one wrapped up. I know I've said this a couple times already, but now for sure I do not see any possible way for Jason to win this game. And yep, alright. He scoops up his cards, and we're going to move on to Game 3. So Andrew Reynolds wins a very, very close second game, and we're going to move on to the deciding third game to see who will advance to the top 4 at the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. So we'll be right back for that third game as these guys shuffle up. In this third game, Jason, of course, will choose to go first. And we will see which of these 2 players will advance to the top 4 at this city championship and go on to fight for more championship points, the trophy, and, you know, some booster packs as well. But the most important thing is getting to say that you are a city champion. That's what's on the line here. Just like in Game 1, Andrew will mulligan. So, Jason will begin the game with an extra card. And we'll see if he can set up a little better than he did last game. I really do feel like if Jason gets a perfect setup, he will win this matchup pretty much every time. But we'll see. You never know what can happen. That's what Pokemon's all about. It's a game of skill, but there's also luck involved that can change the outcome of any game. Even if you're facing a 2-time world champion, you can come out on top if everything goes your way. So, we're going to have Jason start off with a Keldeo EX and a Squirtle. And it looks like he's got some supporters in his hand. I'm not sure what all he actually has in there. But he's going to go for a Skyla right away. Looks like he'll probably be grabbing a rare candy here. It looked like he had a Blastoise in his hand, so wouldn't be surprised if I saw a rare candy here. Or maybe he is a little scared. You know, last game he just had the lone Squirtle out there and it got knocked out by that Tornadus EX. The blow-through did knock out his lone Squirtle, and then it made it difficult for him to ever get a Blastoise into play. So we're in this situation once again. Can Andrew pull this off 2 games in a row? It's going to be a little tougher this time. I mean, he had an extra chance to draw cards the first game. But we'll see. I mean, if he needs Tornadus EX catcher, double colorless, and switch. If he could pull all of that off, I gotta think he would be in a great spot to win this game. But at the very least, he will end Jason's hand away. Clearly, he knew after that Tropical Beach that Jason, he played a Skyla for a rare candy, which means he probably had a rare candy and a Blastoise in his hand. So Andrew wants to disrupt that. He wants to try to prevent Jason from getting that turn 2 rare candy Blastoise, and then the Secret Sword onto Keldeo EX. He wants to prevent that if he can. And also N is going to allow him to have an opportunity to get the 4-card combination he needs. There's a switch, there's a double colorless, but he misses the Tornadus EX. That's exactly what he would have needed. And now, all he can do is really attach a double colorless and X-Ball if he wants to. Or he could Tropical Beach for 1. That is his other option. Looks like he decides to pass. Probably just forgot about the Tropical Beach. He could have just drawn a card there, but it's okay. It shouldn't be too big of a deal. It's something that a lot of people actually forget to do. I've been guilty of it myself sometimes. You just look at your hand, you think, alright, I can't play anything else, and you pass, and then you just, alright, playing for next turn, and you kind of glance over, you're like, oh, I could have drawn cards. Oops. So I don't blame Andrew for that. I think as Tropical Beach gets played a little bit more, that's something that less people will overlook. But for the time being, yeah, it's definitely something that I guess people are going to have to deal with. They're going to have to figure it out. And you might slip something past somebody for the time being if you play Tropical Beach. Now Jason, he's going to put down his Mewtwo. He's going to draw 4. And he's really just going to put the pressure on Andrew here, who puts down another Mewtwo. And he's going to have to figure out what he wants to do here. He's going to have to think, how do I want to approach this? Now, last turn he did not play his double colorless. He could have used X-Ball. He opted not to. And once again, he's opting not to. He's using Tropical Beach for 2. I guess he's just kind of waiting for Jason to make the first move. I guess with Max Potion you can do this. Just go, alright, I'm just going to wait for him to hit me first. And if he does, I'm just going to Max Potion. And then I'm going to X-Ball him. And then I'll be the one who's really in the advantage then. But Jason could just kind of load up a Keldeo EX and Secret Sword with, it would take 7 energy now because of the Eviolite on those Mewtwo's. He could do that though. And then if he just gets a one-hit knockout, then you gotta think that Jason's gonna have the advantage there. He could just respawn with his own Mewtwo's at that point, and he'll be on the good end of a Mewtwo war. So we'll see what he decides to do. I guess he's going for a Secret Sword for, it'll be 90 damage this turn. Excuse me, he could do that. And the difficult part about this is that Jason does have 2 Mewtwo EXs on board already. So he's saying, alright, if you want to make this a Mewtwo war, we can do it. I'm going to be the one who strikes first, which means I'm going to get the first 2 prizes. And I think I'm in a comfortable position if I do that. So this could unfold in several different ways. The main thing working against Andrew is that he does not have any energy in play. He held that double colorless in his hand. He's probably just afraid of being X-balled by Jason's Mewtwo, which would have happened. So, can't blame him for that. And now, I don't know, what do you do with your Andrew? You got no energy in play. You don't really have energy acceleration in your deck anyway. So, it's going to be an uphill battle, that's for sure. He's going to need those max potions to have a shot. And, I mean, that's really all it's going to come down to. He needs a max potion this turn to really take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. So, does he have it? That's going to be question number 1 here. Jason decided to drop 3 more energy on his benched Keldeo EX. He's deciding, Okay, I'm just going to attack with Keldeo. I don't really want to do a Mewtwo War, which was an interesting choice because he does have 2 Mewtwo's benched already. But we do see that Max Potion, and that is a huge card for Andrew to have here. This is going to force Jason's hand, honestly. It's going to force him to start the Mewtwo War. But again, it doesn't look like Andrew actually played a supporter that turn, which is strange. He had a Skyla in his hand and he had an N. He decided to play neither one of those. If I were him, I probably would have at least played the Skyla there. There's always something you can grab. You might as well play the supporter that turn. You have another one as backup. But now he's going for an energy retrieval. Jason will be able to deluge twice to his Mewtwo. You know, Blastoise can attach to any type of Pokemon, not just water types. It's much like Emboar with Inferno Fandango. And now it's on Andrew to have another double colorless here, which he does have. So he will be able to respond with a knockout here. But he needs to get another Pokemon down. If he does not bench another Pokemon, he's going to be in trouble. Because all it takes is 3 energy from Jason, and then it's game over. He can respond with that other Mewtwo X-Ball, and that's just going to be it. And Jason will be the winner. But Andrew opts not to bench a Pokemon. He's going to end instead. He had a Tornadus EX in his hand. Definitely would have liked to see him bench that. Maybe he just wants to put down another Mewtwo, but I think you need to play it safe there. If Jason gets a 3 energy Mewtwo, and you don't have another Pokemon, you just lose the game. Whereas, you know, if you at least put down the Tornadus, you could draw into like a Switch and a Mewtwo, and still get a knockout that way. So he does have the Aspertia City Gym. He's going to end Jason down to 4. Now, it will take a pretty good hand from Jason to pull off this knockout, but Andrew decided not to bench a Pokemon. So this is dangerous. All it takes is 3 energy, and Jason will win this game. Really strange play there from Andrew that he would not go for benching another Tornadus EX. I gotta say that's a little shocking, considering all it takes is 3 energy and he will lose the game. And it looks really likely that Jason will pull it off. He's got an energy in his hand. He's got a Juniper as well. Oh boy. All he needs is an energy retrieval or 2 energy off of this Professor Juniper. He's going to draw 7 cards, and that's all it's going to take. Does he draw 2 more energy? And looks like he got it. Deluge twice more, and Jason Klaczynski, our 2-time world champion, will move on to the top 4 at the Kenosha, Wisconsin City Championship. Really strange that Andrew did not bench that Tornadus EX. You got to think, you know, just surviving was probably the right move there, but sometimes you can think too much and you can get the best of yourself. I think he would have been in a tough situation regardless, but you never like to see someone just get benched out like that. But thank you for watching, guys. I am Pooka from the Top Cut. We'll have the top 4 in the finals from this tournament as well, and some more tournament games for you guys. So take care, everybody, and I will see you next time.